On the one hand, this is happening. Of course, the timing of all these events is also really strange. Over the weekend, the United States hit Iran. Would they strike or not? They said, I gave it 2 weeks, I gave it 3 weeks. But it was obvious that this was going to happen. Because, I had mentioned it before. I said it last week. I mean, the Israeli lobby, the Jewish lobby, or the Israeli lobby AIPAC, is so powerful in the United States right now that they can't just stay silent while Tel Aviv is hit by Iranian missiles. They won't allow it. So right now, it's not even clear who's running whom over there. The other day, something happened. This thing. What was the name of that Egyptian comedian? For example, Piers Morgan says something interesting. He says, here, America is Israel's sugar daddy. Now, I won't get into what sugar daddy means. You guys can look it up and explain it to each other. Yusuf Basin describes it like this. The guy has some really unusual descriptions, so it was obvious this was going to happen. They flew for 36 hours all the way from America, pulled a trick on us. Some of the planes went to a different place. Meanwhile, apparently something was actually coming this way. They hit 3 cities, and some images came out that looked kind of like an atomic bomb. Of course, now they're saying the target here was supposedly an underground atomic bunker. But come on, are the Iranians stupid or something? So I know about it. You know about it. We all know about it. Are they just sitting there waiting like birds? Are they really saying, let's just wait here and see if they come? They've probably moved it already. Now, some people say they moved it. Others say this is all just fantasy. Like, you're going to come over there and hit that underground atomic thing with 1, 2, or 3 bombs. So, a big propaganda and perception war is still going on. In the end, it's all for show, just so people see they're doing something. Did America come? Yes, it did. Did it strike? Yes, it did. I think Iran has made an interesting statement. Iran says, you started this, but we will finish it. From now on, all of America is our target, they say. All American citizens, American bases. And Americans are also calling on their citizens in different countries. One of those countries is Turkey. They are issuing warnings about the Incirlik Air Base and the surrounding areas. They're saying, be careful, don't go to Adana, don't go to that region. We were wondering whether they would block the Strait of Hormuz or not. Iran has decided to block it. There was a graphic circulating to help you visualize the Strait of Hormuz. We showed it the other day. You know how we always show air traffic, with planes coming and going on those radar screens. Here, you can actually see the movement, not of warships, but just of tanker ships. This is the movement in the strait over a 24-hour period. Don't get me wrong. We're talking about an incredibly busy traffic here. And yesterday, Iran stopped this traffic. Right now, these tankers are carrying 20% of the world's oil. But Mafia Ejilmez tweeted. He says, in the past, even just a rumor about this would almost immediately push all oil prices up to $100. Now, they don't go up. Why? Because now the world has gotten used to these kinds of shocks. They think this is just a temporary situation. For now, people are watching, but he says there hasn't been a big jump or a major spike in the current markets, and he's not wrong about that. Arda, of course, there's something else too, and that's naval warfare. It's being said that Iranian submarines have set out to sea. What's the situation there? Is a naval battle expected right now?
Actually, Mr. Cüneyt, there's another important development we haven't talked about. Yemen made a statement. Why is Yemen important? Yemen, under the Houthi administration supported by Iran, told the US to keep its ships away from their territorial waters. And of course, the area they're talking about is the Red Sea. Now, let's take a look at the Arabian Peninsula. To its east, there's some activity with Iran, specifically in the Strait of Hormuz. I also read Professor Mafi's tweet. Actually, he makes a valid point. Oil prices are still around $75 contrary to what people think. They haven't gone above 100 yet. But if Khamenei makes a decisive statement and it's officially closed, if the passage is halted, there will be some serious activity there. Let's turn to Yemen. On the western side of the Arabian Peninsula, there's the Red Sea, the Suez Canal, and Yemen's Gulf of Aden. If Yemen, as it has been doing for the past 2 years since Israel's initial invasion of Gaza, starts causing trouble here again, if it targets commercial ships and, of course, tries to hit US warships, though it can't strike them effectively and just launches missiles. The dozens of U.S. warships and aircraft carriers there intercept these missiles and protect the commercial vessels. Why is this so important? Because 30 to 35% of the world's container trade passes through there. As we talked about months ago as well, if the Suez Canal is closed, meaning if Yemen somehow manages to make that trade route unusable, then all those commercial ships would have to go all the way around Africa, around the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa. And of course, since this would automatically affect global trade, and therefore the US and the dollar, the US sees this area as a red line. So, just like with the Strait of Hormuz, the US is extremely cautious about this as well. And if Yemen starts targeting American ships or commercial vessels, it's very likely that things will heat up there too. As I mentioned before, they've actually been doing this for the past 2 years with the missiles they've developed, and even though it's only been a few times, they've shown that they have the capability to hit their targets. In a few attacks, the Yemenis have done this.
Yeah, for example, there are these videos where American soldiers are always showing off, like, oh, we're eating lobster, or something like that. Like, we're heading to the region, that kind of thing. Are there any other details you'd like to mention? Right now, with these attacks, Tehran is being hit. As far as I understand, there are images coming from Tehran. Last night, Iran actually said, we're going to launch such an attack that the whole world will see. Missiles will rain down. That kind of rumor spread from Iranian media. But they only launched one missile. Or maybe they launched more, but they were destroyed in the air. Look, this is Tehran. Different areas of Tehran are currently being hit by Israeli aircraft. Israel repeated what it had done before today and bombed several more airports and military bases. Basically, they're trying to completely neutralize all of Tehran's, or rather, Iran's, air power right now. At the same time, the United States is also amassing a large military force. Where are they doing this? They're building up at their base in Saudi Arabia. We don't know exactly what's happening at Incirlik, but right now there are various reports that the Americans are sending both planes and warships here, and even launching ballistic missiles from their submarines. It appears they're building up a force like this. But at the same time, there are also various claims coming in through the back channels. So, let's sit down at the table and talk. You know, let's end this thing as soon as possible. I don't think Israel was expecting such a massive attack. There's also a bit of fallout from that. I mean, Tel Aviv, almost a third of Tel Aviv has been affected by these missiles. And these aren't just any missiles, not like what we've seen until now. I think they were also surprised. Yesterday, Anderson Cooper from CNN was broadcasting from a shelter. The shelters themselves are really interesting. For example, if you're Arab, there are no shelters. If you're an Arab living inside Israel, if you're Israeli, yes. In fact, even Israelis have started fighting among themselves. Like, I have an apartment, you don't. Only the people in our building can come in here. Arguments like, you're on your own, take care of yourself, are starting to come up. Do you have any other notes you'd like to add about the weekend?
As you said, Iran also feels a bit of an obligation to respond. But how will he give it? Will they even be able to respond? There's talk about whether they'll continue with missile attacks. Actually, the foreign minister was in Turkey yesterday, Abbas El-Aki. He also went to Moscow. I've also read reports that Russia and China aren't defending Iran enough. I'm sure you've read them too. Of course, Russia is focused on its own problems. On one hand, China wants to weigh the situation a bit, but both China and Russia have officially made statements saying, stop targeting Iran's nuclear program. At this point, the United States has involved itself in the war. My expectation, and probably the experts' expectation as well, is that there could be some development from the Yemen side. Yemen had previously launched missiles at Tel Aviv as well, Mr. Cüneyt. This happened during the past year's tensions between Iran and Israel. As I mentioned, they have reached that capability, and they might continue to do this. The US has now concentrated its military presence in the region, and I also think that if they weren't planning to stay for at least a while, they wouldn't have deployed so much force here. Let's see. What do you think? What are you expecting? I think we'll see what happens this week.
I don't think this war will stop right away. I also don't think it will end immediately. But at some point, I think both sides will probably back down. I was thinking about this, Arda, on the way here. Now, the whole world is in chaos. Iran has reached nuclear capability. Iran is going to produce nuclear weapons. Iran has produced nuclear weapons, and as an excuse, because you know, we're living in the age of excuses now. You arrest people with excuses, and you can also start wars with excuses. Just like they invaded Iraq under the pretext of chemical weapons, now they're bombing here with the excuse that these guys are going to make an atomic bomb. So what's really behind this excuse, and how are they justifying it? Because Iran is expansionist. So, who actually has nuclear bombs in the Middle East right now? Israel. So, isn't Israel expansionist, my friend? Israel is the most expansionist of all. Netanyahu has made statements about this. He comes out and says it openly. He says, we neutralized Syria because the Iranians there were helping Hezbollah. We destroyed their entire air defense system. We neutralized Lebanon. We destroyed their entire system. We're still almost at war with Yemen right now. Iraq is basically under our control. And now it's Iran's turn. So, isn't this expansionism? I'm trying to show just how hypocritical this policy is. I mean, this is what the entire Western media is telling us. They're creating a bogeyman out of Iran. Now, if Iran gets a really powerful nuclear bomb, well, they're saying it'll threaten the whole world. Come on, man, there's a place called North Korea. There's a guy there who could set the whole world on fire instantly with his ballistic missiles. Are you strong enough for that? Can you do anything at all? You can't do a thing. So here, it's all just an excuse. It's the law of the jungle now. There's no such thing as law anymore. It's just bam, 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 bam. That's what it looks like here.
Like you said, there are always these anti-Western opposition accounts on social media accounts, journalists, and so on. They say, now we understand much better why North Korea made this decision so early and on time, and why they wanted to have nuclear weapons. They also say that if those guys hadn't acquired nuclear weapons and established this balance and deterrence, they would have already been subjected to a similar invasion by the West or the US. Whatever you want to call it, and at this point, it's hard not to agree with that.